So now let us continue with the marginal cost. That is, marginal cost is the addition to total cost caused by producing one more unit of output. Hence, marginal cost is equal to total cost upon change in the output. So, how that is calculated? So, the marginal cost is equal to total cost minus total cost n minus 1. Total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Marginal cost is equal to TFC plus total fixed cost plus total variable cost minus total fixed cost n minus 1 plus total fixed cost n minus 1. So, total fixed cost plus total variable cost minus total fixed cost n minus 1 plus total variable cost. Since TFCN is equal to TFCN minus 1, so it is TFC. Then so total variable cost minus total variable cost n minus 1. Now, the marginal cost is independent of total fixed cost. The marginal cost fails initially, reaches a minimum and then rises. In other words, beyond some point it becomes more and more costly for the firm to produce yet another unit of output. Marginal cost is U-shape or shape of a hockey stick or umbrella handle. Marginal cost reaches a minimum point A at a much earlier level of Q1. Output starts rising and on its upward path passes through the minimum of average variable cost point C and minimum of average total cost A point B. Refer figure 1.2. So in figure 1.2, let us understand about marginal curve. So in marginal curve, as we see that it is somewhat like a shape of a hockey stick or a umbrella handle. So not exactly a U shape but a semi U shape. So we can understand that it takes a upward path from point A minimum when it reaches minimum. Then when the level of output is increased and then when the average cost, or that is point C, is at minimum. So this is about marginal cost which is there. Now let us study about average cost and marginal cost. How are average cost and marginal cost derived? So average cost, marginal cost and average cost are derived from total cost. The relationship between average cost and marginal cost must be noted. In figure 1.3, it can be seen that when AC, that is average cost falls with an increase in the output, marginal cost is lower than AC. That is, marginal cost curve lies below the average cost curve. However, it is not necessary that marginal cost should fall throughout this stage. Actually, marginal cost rises earlier than average cost. At the level of minimum output, average cost is minimum and constant. Here AC is equal to MC. When average cost rises with increase in the output, marginal cost is higher than average cost. That is, marginal cost curve lies above the curve AC curve. So this is the curve of average cost. This is the marginal cost curve. So we can understand that how the relationship keeps on changing and both these level of outputs are also changing similarly. Now let us understand, in brief it can be said that marginal cost intersects average cost at its minimum point. Both are U-shaped curves on account of the operation of the law of variable proportion. Referring to figure 1.2, it can be seen that as long as AC curve is falling, the MC curve is less than AC. That is, MC pulls AC downwards. However, MC falls more rapidly and reaches its minimum point A earlier than AC. AC reaches its own minimum point B. Therefore, MC starts rising from point A to point B. AC is still facing up to point B. Further, beyond the point B, both NC and AC rise, but NC rises more sharply. When NC rises above AC, it pulls AC upwards. Similarly, relationship holds between MC and AC too. MC intersects both ABC and AC from below at their at their respective minimum points in that order. The relationship between AC and MC is more easily understood if explained in terms of cricket batting averages. Let us assume that a cricketer batting average is 60 runs. In his next innings, he scores less than 60, say 52. His average will fall below his marginal score. Marginal score is less than his average score. However, in the next innings, average being 60 runs. If he scores more than 60, say 64, his average will rise because now his marginal score is more than his average score. Similarly, if he now plays an innings with average score being 60, in which he scores just 60, then his average and marginal scores will be equal. His average score will neither rise nor fall. In figure 1.4, it is seen that when the slope of average cost is negative, that is AC is falling, MC will be always less than AC and thus lie below AC. When the slope of AC is positive, that is AC is rising, MC will be greater than AC and lie above it. When the slope of AC is equal to 0, that is AC is minimum, MC is equal to AC. So, with this we can understand, on the other hand, if figure 1.5, the average product curve AP were shaped like an inverted U, the corresponding marginal curve, the marginal product curve MP would always cut the AP curve at its highest point C. So, this is the curve, how it should take place. So, we can understand that how the curve has become has become inverted. Earlier we had the U shape, now it is going downwards because we are seeing a downward fall in input, labor and other costs. So with this we come to the end of the short run. Now let us study about the long run cost. Now what is long run cost? The long run is a period during which the firm can vary all its inputs. There are no fixed factors, therefore there is no fixed cost. All costs are variable costs. In the long period, the firm can alter the size of the plant and change the scale of production in order to expand or contract output. According to the demand, by having more or less of the various factors of production, the long run consists of all possible short run situations among which the entrepreneur can choose. In the words of Lefkowitz, the long run is a series of alternative short run situations into any one of which the firm can move. The long run may be compared with the action sequence of a motion picture. If we stop the film and look at a single picture, we have a short run concept. In the short run, plant size is fixed. By plant size, we mean capital equipment, machinery, land, etc. The plant size cannot be increased or reduced. Therefore, a firm is tied with a given plant. But in the long run, a firm moves from one plant to another. A firm can go in for larger plant if it has to increase its output, and a smaller plant if it has to reduce its output. Long run total cost curves. Long run cost curves are called as planning cost or an ex ante cost, as the firm has to plan its future course of action from a wide range of options. It may expand the existing plant, install a new plant, change the management style, etc. Long run total cost curves showing the relationship between output and total costs are derived from the long run production factors in which all inputs are variable. LTC curve can be derived from short run total cost curves. So see in this figure the derivation of long run total cost curve from short run total cost curve is derived. How short run total costs are derived, and how the units and cost of production goes on changing can be understood through this diagram. The figure above depicts the derivation of LTC curve from STC curves. Therefore, there is a family of short run cost curves, one for each capacity depending on the output it wants to produce in the long run. The long run develops envelopes on the short run cost curves. For a long run, cost cannot exceed the short run cost. The long run and the short run costs are equal only at output levels Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, which correspond to the point of tangency between LAC and SAC curves. It is also clear from the figure that when output is small, the total cost is less for a small plant than for a large plant. Likewise, for larger plants are more suitable. Such plants remain underutilized for small output, while a small plant is inadequate for large output. For output OQ1, the smallest plant is the most appropriate as a total cost or OC1. Under this plant is less than that for any other plant size O2, O3 and O4. It is not visible to produce OQ2 or more output with such a small plant. For output levels of Q2, OQ2, OQ3 and OQ4 plants with short run cost curves, short STC2, STC3 and STC4 respectively are most suitable. So with this we can understand that how short run and long run total cost curves can be explained, and how the cost and output go on changing with the cost. Now next, like short run visible cost curve, the LTC curve first increases at a decreasing rate and then at an increasing rate. This curve starts from the origin, implying thereby that in the long run, if nothing is produced, no resources will be used. While the shape of short run curve, short run variable cost curve is due to the law of variable proportions in the short run, and the shape of the LTC curve is due to the existence of returns to scale. Similar to short run variable short curve, the cost curve, the long run total cost curve is initially concave from below, and therefore it is convex from below. So we can understand, see how this figure has been taken. So we can understand how the curve goes convex and concave from below. Then next, in long run average cost, in the short run there is only one short run average cost, SAC curve, corresponding to one fixed plant. However, in the long run, a firm has a number of alternatives with regard to the scale of production. For each scale of production, the firm has an appropriate short run average cost curve. The long run average cost curve can be delivered from a number of short run average cost curves corresponding to different plant size. The LAC depicts that the at least possible AC for producing all levels of output. The LAC curve is to the envelope of various SAC curves. It is drawn as a tangent to all the SACs. Refer figure 1.7. So in the figure 1.7 we can understand SAC1, SAC2 and SAC3. When they are drawn, then we get a LAC. So, in the above figure, SAC1, SAC2 and SAC3 represent three successfully increasing sizes of the plant of the firm. Each plant is suitable for a particular range of output. Within this range, output can be varied by varying the quantity of variable inputs if the firm starts. Production with small plant represented by SAC1. It can operate this plant with the at least possible cost for various levels of output up to OQ1. For producing an output level beyond OQ1 on account of increase in demand, average cost is smaller plant is higher. This is thus in the long run, the firm sets up a medium plant, bigger sized plant represented by SAC2. The average cost of this plant is lower than the small plant for medium sized plant. Point K is the minimum point corresponding to output level OQ2. If the firm anticipates a rise in demand beyond OQ3, it will install a large plant represented by SAC3 to reproduce the cost per unit. The LAC curve is a U-shaped continuous curve, but the U-shape is less pronounced than the LAC curve. The LAC curve can only be tangential to an SAC. It cannot cut any SAC curve. This is because for any given the output average cost cannot be higher in a long run than in the short run. The reason is that any adjustment which will reduce the cost in short run is also possible in the long run. On the other hand, it is always not possible in the short run to produce a given level of output in the cheapest possible way. It is impossible to change the amounts used for all factors of production in the short run, but they can all be altered in the long run. Hence, it can be concluded that all LAC curve can never cut a SAC curve. It is only tangential to the SAC curves. The LAC curve is called an envelope curve since it envelopes or supports a family of SAC curves from below. Only one SAC is tangential to LAC at its SAC's minimum, that SAC which is tangential to LAC at LAC's minimum. SAC is tangential to LAC's when LAC is falling to the left of LAC's minimum, tangential to LAC at a point left of their minimum when SAC is falling. SAC is tangential to LAC when LAC is rising to the right of its minimum, where minimum are tangential to LAC. Now, at a point on the right of their minimum when SAC is increasing. So, refer figure 1.7. Explanation of U-shape of LAC curve. The U-shape of the LAC curve can be explained through the law of returns to scale with increase in the scale of operation. LAC curve initially slopes downwards due to the economies of scale, which explain increasing returns to scale. In this situation, the proportionate rise in long run cost is less than proportionate rise in the scale of operation. However, when diseconomy set in the LAC curve turns upwards, which explain diminishing returns to scale, reflecting the increase in the long run average costs of production. When a firm expands in the long run, it tends to reap the benefits of economies of a large scale production. Internal economies of scale. On account of these advantages, the firm's long run total cost increases slowly with output. As a result, long run average cost declines. These economies of scale can be distinguished into real economies and pecuniary economies. Real economies are associated with a reduction in physical quantity of inputs, raw material, various kinds of labor and capital required per unit of output when the firm expands the scale of operation. Pecuniary economies are realized from paying lower prices for the inputs used in the production and distribution of the product as the size of the firm increases. One of the economies of scale have been exploited, and the LAC has reached its minimum point. For the explanation in output leads to diseconomies of scale. The diseconomies are the disadvantages which accrue to the firm on account of over expansion of the scale of operation beyond its optimal size. These diseconomies may be technical, managerial, or of any other types. Explanation of the position of the LAC curve. The internal economies and diseconomies determine the shape of the LAC curve, but the position of this curve depends on external economies and diseconomies, while the external economies cause a downward shift in the LAC curve. The external economies result in the upward shift in the LAC curve. Cost of a firm depends not only on its own output level but also on the output level of the whole industry. This can be explained through external economies and diseconomies of scale which accrue to the firm as a result of the expansion in the output of the whole industry. This can be illustrated through figure 1.8. See, with this figure we can understand that external economies lower the long run average cost at each level of output. Consequently, the LAC curve shifts downwards to LAC1. Similarly, the LAC curve shifts upward to LAC owing to external economies. As a result, every level of output can only be produced with a higher cost per unit. Similar shifts are possible in the LMC curve also on account of external economies downward shift and external diseconomies upward shift. So now with this we have understood about external economies and diseconomies. Now let us understand about long run marginal cost curve. The long run marginal cost curve shows the minimum amount by which cost is increased each time when output is increased, or the maximum amount of total cost that can be reduced when output is reduced. LMC curve is derived from the short run marginal cost SMC curves by considering the points of intersection of SMCs with vertical lines drawn from the points of tangency of the corresponding SAC and LAC to the x-axis. This is illustrated in figure 1.9. In the long run, if the firm wants to produce OQ1 output, it will choose the plant corresponding to SAC1. For this level of output, LAC curve is tangent to SAC1 at point A. The corresponding LMC will be equal to SMC1, that is BQ1 at point B, corresponding to OQ1 level of output. This happens because when LAC is equal to SAC, LMC will also be equal to SMC. Thus, the LMC curve passes through point B. Further, if OQ2 output is produced, the firm will choose the plant corresponding to SAC2. For this level of output, E is the point on the LAC curve where both SAC2 and SMC2 are equal. The LMC curve will thus pass through point E. This implies that the production of output of OQ2 in the long run involves marginal cost of OQ2. Finally, for output level of OQ3, the LMC is equal to SMC3 corresponding to the point of tangency between LAC and LAC3 at point C. The SMC corresponding to this point or OQ3 level of output is given by point D. This is the point through which LMC curve will pass. LMC for output level OQ3 is equal to DQ3. The curve is derived by joining points B, E, and D. This curve passes through those points of SMCs which correspond to the respective tangency points of short run average cost curve with LAC curve. The LMC can thus be defined as the locus of these points on the SMC curves, which correspond to the optimum plant size and not the optimum output, that is the point of minimum SACs for each output. Now, with this, let us study about the relationship between LAC and LMC. The relationship between LAC and LMC long run is same as the one between AC and MC. LMC shortcut curves LAC curve at its minimum point shown in figure. From this we can understand when LAC is falling, LMC is greater than LAC. When LAC is rising, LMC is smaller than LAC. And when LAC is minimum, LMC is equal to LAC. So with this, we come to the end of relationship, and I hope you have understood this. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So with this, we shall end the class.